Hi everyone. I hope all of you are able to hear me. And thanks everyone for joining first of all. I know it was sort of on a very short notice. We hadn't announced the session well in advance, but we thought let's go live because we have about 3 weeks to go before all of you face the Maharashtra MBA CET. So we are going to concentrate on what should be the last 3 week strategy before you take the test, and what are the things to do, what are the things that you should not be doing in these 3 weeks, and so on and so forth. And of course, take all the questions that you have, right? So the point of the session is to answer as many questions as possible. So let me know if you have any queries with respect to CET, the prep strategy, admission process, and anything in general that you want to know about Maharashtra MBA CET. Okay, so great to see quite a few of you. So hi Anish, hi Sarvesh. Please feel free to ask your questions. I'll be very happy to take any questions that I get in this session. Okay. All right. So I'll first begin with like a generic advice that should work for everybody, no matter where you are in your preparation journey at this point of time. So the last 3 weeks are very, very crucial. This is a phase in which you have to take as many mock tests as possible. But at the same time, understand that you should not overdo it. For example, I have seen a lot of students in the past who come and ask me whether they should be taking a mock test every single day or they should take, let's say, two mock tests every day. That is not going to be very, very useful. So my advice number one is going to be take as many mocks as possible, but at the same time, don't take so much pressure on yourself that you're not able to perform on the final day. So you have to be in a peak performance stage. That will happen if you take a lot of breaks as well. So don't take mocks every single day. That might be even counterproductive. It's not going to help you a lot because you're not giving yourself sufficient time to recover. So you have to give yourself, I would say, at least about maybe 24 to 36 hours, which will help you to figure out what are the areas in which I need to improve, and then do focus practice of those question types. For example, I take a mock and I realize that I have made too many mistakes in, let's say, questions related to grammar. Now, what I'm going to do is before I take the next mock, I'm going to spend some time reading grammar rules, practicing a few more problems related to grammar. So I'll do a little bit before I take the next mock, because otherwise I'm just the same, right? You're not changing in terms of what is the content that you have. So you have to do a little bit of content prep as well in the remaining days and not only mock test. So my first advice is going to be that don't take mock every single day. Give yourself sufficient rest. What you can also do is, let's say, take 5 to 6 days of mock and then take 1 day break, and then another 5 6 days of mock and another break, and so on. Or you can take, let's say, one every alternate day, because even if you take one mock test every alternate day, another 3 weeks time, you should be able to take at least 10 mocks, right? And that's a sizable number. I'm assuming that you have taken a lot of mocks already, but if you haven't, then you may have to increase that a little bit. Let's say maybe 11, 12, 13 mocks is what you can take. But don't take a mock every single day, or don't try to do, let's say, two mocks every day. That's not going to be very, very useful to you. Okay. That's the first advice that I have. Right? The second advice is going to be focus on the areas that give you maximum score, and the score pulling down areas, right? So let's call it that the areas that pull down your score. If there are such areas for you, you spend, let's say, I would say 60-40 time between these two. So 60% of the time is still on areas where you're good at and where you can, let's say, go from, say, an 80% accuracy to a 90 or 100% accuracy. The remaining 40% is on the areas where you currently do not have good accuracy. So maybe, let's say, your accuracy is just 25-30%, or let's say if it is less than 50%. On those areas also spend some time, about 40% of your effort, so that you come to a stage where nothing is super weakness for you, that you are reasonably good at most of the things. On a good day, you will have 100% accuracy, but even on a normal day or a slightly bad day also, you will be able to have, let's say, 60, 70, 80% accuracy. So do not keep any area which is completely untouched, something where you haven't done anything, because you never know where the questions are going to come from. So if you have, let's say, logarithms as an area which currently you have not done, I would say spend some time on logarithms. There are very limited set of rules. Just go through them, practice 15-20 questions. That should suffice and give you or put you in a position where you can solve something. So rather than completely leaving it aside, I would say do something for these area of improvement topics as well. And the third advice is going to be on time management, because CET is a speed-based exam. Right? All of you know that there is no negative marking. That does not make the test very easy, because you still have to solve a lot of questions in a limited amount of time, which means that your time management has to be fantastic. So figure out that if it is a sectional paper, how much time should I be spending on each of the areas, which will help me get maximum returns. So look at, so those of you who have taken the IMS mock test series, right? You have something called the marks per minute. The marks per minute is a very, very useful metric. If you look at that, it will tell you that there are some areas where you're getting the marks per minute is higher. It should be more than 1. If that is happening, that's the best place to be in. If it is less than 1, or let's say closer to 0, it means that these are areas where you're spending more time, but it is not giving you enough marks. So that is what you have to be careful of, that whatever time I'm spending, am I getting a return which is higher than that? So if I spend, let's say, 60 minutes, my mark should be more than 60, right? If I'm spending, let's say, 100 minutes, my mark should be very, very close to 100, or let's say more than 100, right? If that is happening, then you're in a good position. Okay. All right, let's take a few questions. So we'll start with the first question: when will the admit cards be out? Okay, so right now I don't think they have given that date as to by when will it be released. But roughly, I would say anywhere between 7 to 10 days before the test, you should be able to get it. Right now, at least, I don't know if they have released it on the website. I mean, they have not given the date as such. Question from Anish: I'm only scoring 120 to 125 mocks, 125 in mocks. Is it possible to score 99.99%? Okay, Anish, so see, we don't know how exactly the final paper will be. Whether, say, a 120 or a 125 will suffice in that particular test for a 99.99. So what we know at this point of time is that, okay, these are the mocks that you have. Whatever mock you take, have you done justice to that? Have you done, let's say, the best that you could have? Because see, when you look at, say, somebody who gets a 99.99 percentile, when they come out of the test venue, they will be like, okay, this is the best that I could have done. Right? I could not have done more questions, or I could not have got, let's say, more accuracy. They are more or less content with the attempt that they had. So if that has started happening for you, that you have started realizing that I cannot do better than this, right? This is the best that I can do with the limited content that I have prepared. Uh, it means that you have reached that level, correct? So you look at your mocks and see that is there a gap between what my current score is and what my potential score can be. So let's say currently you're getting a 120, 125, and in the same paper, once you analyze the test, you realize that no, I could have got a 140 or a 145. Then the 99.99 percentile in that paper would be somewhere around that score, correct? So you have to know that all the tests will not be easy, all the tests will not be moderate. Ultimately, percentile is going to be relative, right? So ultimately it will be like, okay, because there have been years in the past, and this is something which is in a response to the feedback that we get, that IMS mocks are difficult. But see, that is where the problem lies, right? That everybody assumes a certain level of difficulty. Now that may or may not happen. If you look at last year's difficulty, it may or may not be the case this year. So last year paper was fairly doable, right? If you look at the quality of questions, most of them were easy. The scores were very, very high for a lot of students. But will that happen every single year? The answer is no. And it's very, very similar to what is happening in stock markets now, right? So think of mutual funds, for example. So a lot of people who started investing a few years back, they always saw their mutual funds portfolio to be in the green zone. But now a lot of them are seeing red, the portfolio in the red zone, and they're surprised as to how that is happening, is because you have not factored in that something like that can happen. So CET mock difficulty, we keep it at a higher level, is because if you go to the test and it comes out to be easy, you will still be able to handle it. But if you go for the test and the test comes out to be difficult and you're used to an easy level of solving, you will not be able to figure out what should I do, how should I react in this situation. So in fact, a difficult paper is good for you, right? So if a paper comes out to be difficult, it is good because it helps the segregation, right? So if the paper is very, very easy, note that it is very easy for everybody. And that makes it a bit of a problem. If it is difficult, people who have prepared, like all of you who are attending this session, you're attending because you are prepared. You are somebody who is thinking of improving your score. A difficult paper or a moderate paper helps to do that segregation in a better manner. But if a paper comes out to be very, very easy, it becomes in fact a problem for a lot of students, right? So don't get used to sort of a easy level of problems. Whatever test comes in front of you, see if you're doing justice to it. So the gap between you, your score, and your potential score should be as low as possible. Right? So, for example, people who have started, let's say, scoring in the range of 150, maybe in some mocks you scored 140, 150, you will see that the gap between your current score and potential score would be lower. Maybe say gap of 10 marks, 15 marks, and something like that. Because you have started hitting a level where which is like a maximum in that particular test. So you never know what sort of score will suffice or not. So you just do justice to the test that you get. Pooja, when does JBIMS session start? When do we get the admission confirmation? Okay, so that happens generally in the month of July, and college starts in August. At least when again I was a student, my years I think started in August if I recall correctly. Though there have been years in the past when it has started later than that, and that has been due to the admission process delay. So if the result gets delayed for some reason, or for some reason, let's say the admission process gets delayed, the college will start late. That has happened in the past in some of the years, but generally, if you want to have an answer to that question, I'll say August typically. Is 99 percentile manageable if I start now? I've only covered 50% of the syllabus. Definitely possible, I would say, but see, you still have 3 weeks, and it will be a function of what you do in these 3 weeks. So I'm not going to say that everybody who has done 50% of the syllabus, if they start today to do remaining 50%, they'll hit a 99%. Because by definition, it's not that way, right? I mean, 99 percentile shows that you have beaten 99% of the population. So on a good day, can that happen? The answer is yes. Provided there are some things that you do in the remaining few days, which is taking more and more mock test, and then what you do on the final day, right? See, there are some things that are not in your control. For example, what the others are doing in terms of effort. But what is in your control is how much effort you are putting in. So if I have 21 days roughly ahead of me, and if I decide to take, let's say, a mock every alternate day, I end up doing 10 mocks, that is equivalent to 2000 questions, correct? So in my view, if that is going to help me to get to a 99, let me do that. If I think, no, I need to take maybe 15 mocks, 3000 questions, let me do that, correct? So you have to figure out what will help you to get to where you want to go and put in that much amount of effort. And after that, see what happens, right? Because see, even with efforts that people put in, sometimes they don't get a very high score, and that can always happen. But at least you are content that I have put in the effort that I could have. It's not that I just took everything lightly. So don't have regrets. That's the suggestion that I would say, that at the end of the test, you should not feel that, oh, I should have put in more effort. I could have scored more. In fact, you should put as much effort as you can in the next 3 weeks. And then whatever happens, happens. It's okay. Dinesh, safe score for JB. So generally, there's no safe score per se. It depends a lot on the difficulty of the test and the candidate pool of that year. I can give you some perspective as to how it has been in the past. There have been some years when something like a 150 plus has been enough. There have been some years when 130 plus has been enough. In some years, a 145 has been enough. It depends. But in a moderate paper, which is like a not very easy, not very difficult paper, a 150 is what you should be aiming for out of 200. Sahil, scoring 75 out of 150, skipping quant section, mocks are very tough. Okay, so it's okay. The mocks are tough. That is still fine. I'm not worried about that too much. You are skipping the entire quant section, right? That is a bigger problem to consider. So if let's say there are 50 questions in quant, and out of that 25 questions are easy, your aim should be to do those 25 questions. So in the entire paper of 200 questions, if there are, let's say, 110 easy questions, at the end of the paper, I should have done all those 110 questions. So figure out where exactly you are what is it that you're missing at this point of time? Is it like a strategy issue for you? The attempt order of the sections is a problem. Is the speed an issue, right? So how much time am I spending? So let's say, for example, if you're not able to do quant, maybe you're spending more time on LR than required. So if let's say you're spending 70-75 minutes on LR, getting let's say 40 marks there, is that worth it? So can I live with, let's say, spending only 50 minutes on the LR section and still get those 40 marks? In that process, I will end up saving 20 minutes that I can use for the quant section. So I will look at the individual sections, how much time I'm spending on each of the sections and the questions, and then take a call as to what should I do next. Sushant, Maharashtra students cut off for JB. So generally for general, it has been 99.9 plus. 99.9 percentile can be anywhere between say 140 to 150, 155, etc. That depends a lot on the difficulty of the test. Myron has asked, should I prefer using IMS mocks or Atal mocks for CET preparation? I'm not sure why it should be a question of preference. Right? Why can't you do both? So see, CET has of course that portal, right, which is the Atal mocks that are there. I'm not going to say that you don't use it. I'm saying if it is there, why don't you use it? So you can do both. If you want, you can do, let's say, sort of mix and match, right? So 3 mocks of this and then 10 mocks of this and something like that. So that is always possible. I will not really choose between say this or that. But I think they are slightly on the easier side. So if you want a different flavor, I think you can definitely try it out. They are a little bit easy. Some important and must do topics in LR. Okay, so see, technically you should not be leaving anything, but if I have to choose, I will definitely choose a lot of topics which are related to say series, coding, decoding, so all sort of puzzles basically. So these are the ones that are the most asked question types. You also have blood relations, right? Puzzles, the issue with puzzles is that you should practice them. So matrix arrangements, circular arrangements and things like that. But if the set is very, very difficult, you should stay away from it. See, when I say very difficult is from a period when IBPS used to conduct the CET, when the puzzles used to be difficult. For example, 8 people sitting around a circular table and 4 of them are facing inwards, 4 of them are facing outwards, and then there is blood relation also which is given. That could be a problem, right? So I will stay away from anything that I sense it is very, very time consuming. If it is easy, definitely jump onto it. So logical puzzles, LR caselets, definitely you should be doing. There are some areas that you may not be very confident of cracking. The standalone logical puzzle sometimes can be very, very arbitrary. But if you do series, coding, decoding, if you do linear arrangement, circular arrangement, matrix arrangements, if you've done at least this much, right, and then maybe areas such as input, output, I think you should be in a position to do at least 50 to 60% of the paper. Is it better to attempt all questions or only selected questions with higher accuracy? So in the actual test, you will of course attempt everything. You will mark everything. But when you're taking your mocks, I generally recommend people to take at least 5 mocks in the beginning without any random marking to figure out where they stand. So if you haven't taken a single mock as of now, the next 5 mocks that you take, make sure that you attempt only genuine questions. It will give you a sense of where you stand. After that, you start attempting all the questions because you have to get used to it. So the last 2 weeks or the last, let's say you end up taking 7-8 mocks lastly, those mocks, I think you should be marking everything because you have to get used to that. Otherwise, I've also seen students in the past to come out and say that I was not able to mark everything. And that should not happen. See, ultimately, there's no negative marking. So if things work out in your favor, fantastic, right? You mark all 200 questions. Probability wise also, you should be having, what, let's say 5 options and 40 is what you should get. So if let's say you've done 100, 120 questions genuinely, you mark the remaining 80 questions. Even from that, you should be getting like a reasonable number of questions there. So make sure that you mark everything and get used to doing that. Gaurav, is ex-military man preferred by IM? So there's no specific thing as such, so they don't have like a specific quota per se for that. But yes, it's a different profile, so that's a good thing. How I haven't started prep yet due to interviews. How shall I prepare now? Okay, so I would say that you first jump onto mocks. See, if you have taken CAT, you got some calls from that, or taken NMAT, SNAP, etc. Most of your content preparation is done, but you now have to get used to the format of the test, which is 150 minutes, 200 questions, and be absolutely brutal in terms of how you attempt it, right? Because the time per question is really short. So you have to get used to that. So start taking mocks as early as possible. Is there any academic diversity for Bachelor of Pharmacy? Abhishek, for the Maharashtra CET colleges that you have, there is no weightage to diversity. So it's not going to help you in any way. But if you're talking about IMS, yes, definitely there will be some advantage. Question from Aresh, my score just stuck on 105 from last three mocks. What should I do? So in my analysis, I'm going to look at, okay, what are these remaining 95 questions? Out of these 95 questions, how many am I getting wrong? How many am I skipping? What are the areas that I'm completely unaware of? So I will prioritize and identify at least 4 to 5 things that I can do before the next mock, so that I expected slightly different score. And see, sometimes it's also a function of, okay, difficulty of the test, right? So if the paper is consistently difficult or more difficult compared to what you have done, you will end up hitting a certain score only, and you'll not be able to cross that. But if I give you an easy paper, right, that's what I was mentioning, that you try some easy mock, for example, the Atal mocks that are there. You can try that and see how much you score, and your score will jump, because in a difficult paper, if you're getting a 105, in an easy paper you're going to get, let's say, a 125, 130, or even more than that. So it depends a lot on the difficulty as well. So it's okay. I mean, 105 is not a bad score, but figure out, okay, what are these remaining areas. Sakshi, I'm not able to manage time while solving mocks. What to do? Uh, in See, in your mind, you have to decide that, okay, once you cross a certain limit, enough is enough. Let me move on, because otherwise there's no end to it, right? I mean, if I keep telling myself that I will spend another minute, I'll be able to solve it. I'll spend another minute, I'll be able to solve it. That 1 minute might end up becoming 5-7 minutes as well. So somewhere you draw the line, when, let's say, you're doing an LR case, that 6-7 minutes, if I'm able to crack it, great. Otherwise, I'll move on. Or for a section that would be roughly around, say, number of questions, those many minutes. If I have, let's say, 25 questions, the abstract reasoning part, 20-25 minutes is the maximum that you can spend on it. Anything more is not helping you. If you look at VRC as a section, 50 questions, nobody should be spending more than 50 minutes on it. In fact, that time should be somewhere around 35 to 40 minutes, so that you save some time for quant and LR, because those are the areas where the accuracy will be higher, and the time taken will also be more. So that is why you have to save some time in the VRC section, use it for LR or use it for QA. When is the CET exam date? So first, second, third April is what they mentioned. Tentative time for result could be anywhere between 2 to 3 weeks after the test is conducted. Any link to check center name right now not announced. Uh, can you give an ideal time segregation for each section? As I said, 25 minutes for abstract reasoning, around 30, 35, 40 minutes for VRC, depending on how good you are. Close to about 50 minutes, 45 to 50 minutes on the quant section. The remaining time on the LR section. Others 876 Gem Fresher, what colleges can I convert? Okay, so firstly, this session is not for CAT. You have a very high score in CAT, so obviously you have a lot of options that must have come to you. And right now, you should not be worrying about what can I convert. You appear for interviews and see what happens. Reena, is Atal CET mocks in line with actual exam? See, actual exam, how it will be, we don't know. What we know is CET difficulty has fluctuated in the past. So, for example, when I was a student, the topper in my year was 169 out of 200, and JB had closed at about 152 that year. Okay, the paper used to be moderate, so between moderate to difficult kind of a paper. There have been some years where the paper has come out easy, where the topper has gone to 180, right, 180 plus. So in those years, JBIMS used to close at about 160. But there have been years when the topper was 145 and JB has closed at about 125. So there is a range, right? So it depends a lot on the difficulty of the test. That's why I keep saying, right, that there's no safe score. It ultimately depends on how the test will be. So whether they are in line with the test or not, they are slightly on the easier side compared to IMS mocks, because I saw one Atal CET mock and I found it to be easy compared to the IMS mocks that we have. If I put 10 hours daily, is it possible to score 130 marks? I'm scoring 70 right now. Okay, so Shubham, nobody knows, right? I mean, nobody can answer that question for you. Uh, a lot of things have to work in your favor for that to happen, right? So your efforts have to be top notch. As you were saying, right? Like, put in a lot of effort. But then how the paper comes out on the final day, right? So let's say if the paper comes out to be easy, you will hit 130, but then a lot of people will also do that. So relatively, your percentile may not be that great. So don't keep a specific target only, I would say. What I would recommend is that you try the best that you can. You give in the effort that is required. You then, when you go for the test, right, do the best that you can and see what happens. Because nobody can answer that question that will I almost double my score, right? You are at 70 right now, you're aiming for 130. Can that happen? My answer is yes. Will that happen to everybody? My answer is no, right? Because see, people will have different aspirations. So somebody will say, okay, can I score up 150? The point is, how much have you done so far? And that part of the whole thing that I'm not aware of, right? So maybe some of you have scored very well on Snap and Mat, etc. If that is the case, it will be very easy for you to sort of push your score up. But if that is not the case, maybe the struggle is going to be higher. So don't think that it is not possible. You put in the best that you can and see what happens. See, my point is, and I said it some time back as well, that you don't control everything. What you don't have a control over is others' efforts. You don't have control over how the exam difficulty will be. What you control is what you do in the next 3 weeks, and in that paper, how you will perform. So focus on that, and then after that, whatever happens, happens. Right? There's nothing that you can do about it. Um, okay, what should be strategy to prepare for LR? I'm not able to understand it. So identify what are the areas that you are able to understand. For example, blood relations, right? Very, very easy to understand in general. Even if you have a caselet based on it, it's generally easy to solve. Circular arrangement, linear arrangement. So tackle one area at a time. Pick one area, solve, let's say, 20, 30 questions of it, and then you will be able to solve more. So once you grasp the core concepts that are required, then whatever happens, you will be able to solve it. So blood relations, I need to know, okay, how do I draw the family tree? Or if the question is worded like looking at a photograph, Meena said to Sheena that whatever, right? So there is an approach to these questions. You have to understand what that approach is. Let's say linear arrangements, for example. Right? So how do you draw the basic diagram? So if they say that, okay, everybody is pointing in the south direction, then how do you draw the figure? Or if they say there are 8 people, 4 in facing inwards, 4 facing outwards, how do you draw that figure? So those are the things that you will start realizing. Now in 3 weeks, because it will take a lot of time for you to get better at it, I would say identify the low hanging fruits, the ones that are very, very easy to crack. Coding, decoding, for example. Right? So if you know the letter positions, most of the coding, decoding questions can be answered. Most of them. There will still be those arbitrary questions that you will not be able to crack. If you know your numbers well, right? So squares, cubes, etc., you will be able to solve series questions. If you know your percentages, reciprocals properly, you'll be able to solve data interpretation. So I'm going to choose these low-hanging fruits where I don't have to put in a lot of effort to get better at it. But if somebody comes to me right now and says, I have not done anything related to permutation combination, right? Should I study it? I will say, okay, fine, you can still study it for another week or so. But after that, I don't see how it is going to help you a lot, because let me focus now on more on the things that I know and push to improve your speed rather than trying to do too many new things. But you still have, I would say, another 7 to 10 days in which you can do that. Low hanging fruits is like logarithms, for example, right? Very, very easy to learn, just an extension of indices. So if you know that, okay, 3 raised to 3 is equal to 27, right? You should be able to answer log 27 to the base 3 is also 3. So it's not that difficult. So there are these some areas that you can look at where you don't have to spend too much time. Grammar rules, just go through grammar rules, I would say pretty much every alternate day. Very easy to increase your accuracy there. Okay. Any chance of CET getting delayed? Don't hope for it. See, the more exams get delayed, right, the more admission process gets delayed. The college will start later. It's disadvantage for everybody. So definitely don't hope for that. Your order of preference to attempt sections. Okay, so my order is more or less fixed. If it is a jumbled paper, go from 1 to 200, solve whatever you can in that process. If it is a sectional paper, I almost always start with the abstract reasoning section, about 20-25 minutes on it. Then I go to verbal section, around 45, 30, 35, I would not even say 35. 30-35 minutes is like the maximum that I spend on it. Then I go to quant, about 40-45 minutes, and then I go to LR. See, this order works for me. Doesn't mean that it will work for everybody. Not everybody should have the same amount of time being spent. If it works for you, you do it. If it doesn't, then you try something else. JBIMS MHRD CET cutoff for non-Maharashtrian students. So firstly, for the MHRD and MSc Finance, the process happens much later. It is not a part of the MMS admission process. So you still have some time. Cutoff, you should be aiming for at least, I would say, a 95 percentile. In the past, they have given shortlist at 90 plus as well. But if you are looking at a decent score, then 95 plus should be the aim. Football World CET is the last option. Planning to start preparing for CAT. So what should I do? Like the results of CET used to come late, and it's a long process. So see, if you're thinking of CAT 25 and CET 25 is just one thing that you're taking, take it and see what happens. Correct. So the result will be out in April itself mostly. After that, you can decide. If you get a very good college through CET, you can join. If you think that no, I deserve better, I should be trying for CAT, then you always have more time. So I don't think that's a very big concern right now. Not for at least another 3 weeks. So 3 weeks you can focus on CET preparation. Vicky, are you aware when NMIM is going to declare the merit list? Okay, so NMIM should be again very soon now, because considering the college begins in June, right? So generally all these colleges, the private institutes, start in June first week itself. So the result should be out very soon. Sanket, what kind of puzzle should I leave, and what should be the ideal time to attempt single puzzle? Okay, if it is a caselet, about 7 to 8 minutes is the maximum that you can spend, because it's a 5-question caselet typically that you will see. Now, what kind of things to avoid is if it is too complicated. So, as I said, 8 people, 4 facing inwards, 4 facing outwards. Even if it is only that much, you can solve it. But in that, if I say that there is blood relation as well, or in that there is, let's say, food preference, I may not do it. It depends. My current score is around 90 to 100 in IMS mocks. In others, it is 120. What should I do next to increase the score? Okay, so similar to what I answered for some other question, right? That what are the remaining areas where you are struggling? Maybe you're not able to answer, or you are getting it wrong. I will focus on those areas. So that itself will jump your help you to get to the next score by, let's say, 20-25 marks as well. Are IMS mocks sufficient for practice? It should be sufficient. So you technically would not need more than that. If you have taken 20 mocks, which is which is what, 4,000 questions, exposure wise, you are fine. Right? Then ultimately, how you do on the test is up to you. In the exam, when we attempt all with some of them being flukes, is it better to stick with only one option, for example, marking everything B or C, etc.? So generally, what I do is I have enough time to do random marking if I have to. There haven't been a lot of instances where I had to mark a lot of questions randomly. But if I have to do that, I will at least look at the question. So, for example, if the question says that something is given, and none of these is also an option, etc., and I see that the question will not have none of these as an answer, right? Then marking that is not going to make sense. So that is why don't stick to, let's say, only A's, only B's, only C's. See, ultimately it's lottery, correct? Nobody can say that, oh, you will get more marks if you mark B or more C. It's not like that. You just hope that it will turn out to be correct. But I will at least look at the question and see, okay, what is there in the question, than just marking it. If at all it comes to a situation where there's nothing that you can do, like last 1 minute, you cannot solve anything, there are 20 questions remaining, make sure that you mark everything, whatever you like. So if you like the letter B, mark B. If you like the letter C, mark C. It's not going to make a hell of a lot of difference. I'm really scared about corporate. I'm hearing once you get in there, you won't get time for self at all, no time for peace and family. Can you please tell me? Okay, so Aditya, I mean, this is not the time to worry about it, right? You have 3 weeks for CET, so focus on that. And with any work, right, the thing is you have to figure out what you like and why you're doing it in the first place, right? So if the reason is, let's say, to make a lot of money, and you have some job which is giving you that, maybe you'll be happy on that front, right? If your calling is different, right, you are more passionate about some other cause, you might feel a little bit stuck in that case. So you have to figure out, okay, what do you like? There's a concept called ikigai. If you are able to get a job which is sitting at the intersection of a lot of things for you, something that you like, something that you are good at, something that people will pay you for, and so on, then you derive more satisfaction. But it's not that people don't get time. People may have to work a lot in the beginning, but after a period of time, you get enough time. Okay, and then it depends on how well you manage your time, what you want to do with it. So it's definitely not a scary place to be in. And if you get into a job which is irritating, you can always move to some other place. So there are like too many options that are available in the market. Why IMS mocks are difficult, I've mentioned this earlier as well, but just to make it answer that question again, making an easy paper is easy. I will make an easy question paper which will wherein all of you will be able to score, let's say, 150 plus. What if the paper comes out to be difficult? Then you will not know how to react to that situation. You will not do well. So we'll make the paper slightly more difficult, so that if the actual paper is easy, you will still be able to handle it. But if the paper is difficult, exactly you know what to do. So don't think too much about the difficulty of IMS mocks, is what I would say. See, and it's not because I work with IMS and that is why I'm making that statement. Even when I was a student, uh, I was like, if the paper is difficult, it's good for me, because then I'm getting exposed to a higher difficulty of problems, which is ensuring that if at all if I get an easy paper, I'll still be able to handle it. So think of it this way: that let's say you are somebody who plays cricket with a tennis ball, right? And they've done that all your life. You go to a match where they're playing with a different ball, right? So now you'll not be able to play. Or let's say you played with a plastic ball, then you go for a match where there's a tennis ball. Will you be able to face it properly? The answer is no. So that is why get used to the most difficult thing that is out there, and then easy becomes far more easy. Okay, I did engineering, but now I'm teaching in school. Will school teaching experience count as work X? It gets counted, but not all the places will consider it. Can I get a my plan with you? So it's a difficult thing to do, because I don't get enough time to sit with students one on one. But you can always write to me. You can reach out via any of the centers. They'll be able to share my email ID, and you can always reach out. Uh, do you know when NMMS results will be out? I'm not sure when they will release it, but very soon, considering a lot of colleges have started announcing their results now. How hard are IPM entrance exams on average? Is month and a half enough? A decent base in math? So IPM, first you're sitting in the wrong session. The session is for the Maharashtra MBA CET and not for IPM entrance exams. But if you have strong maths, you should be able to manage it. अगर CET में कम मार्क्स आए तो क्या हम MBA करें या नहीं? So Jaidat, see, it depends, right? So what option you're getting, based on it, it will decide. It's not that low marks in CET doesn't mean you don't do an MBA, but you figure out then, okay, what is the best that you can get with that score, and then decide. Expected cutoff for OBC Maharashtra student for moderate paper. Firstly, all the past cutoffs are there on the CET cell website. You can actually go there and check it out. But what we'll also do is, once the CET is conducted, we'll do a session. We'll ensure that we have all the cutoff information and all updated on the B School zone, so you can check it out for yourself. Right now, don't worry about it. I want JBIMS. How should I strategize in the time left? My approach in the last 3 weeks was very simple. Take a mock every alternate day, analyze my performance, and on alternate days, work on those areas. So if you take a mock, realize parajumbles is a problem, go and do 20 parajumble questions before you take the next mock. How to improve accuracy in verbal? In the last 3 weeks, I'm not sure if you will be able to push it a lot, but marginal improvement can always happen. Focus on grammar, because that is one area from where you get a lot of questions. The other thing that I will do is a lot of reading. So at least 30 minutes of reading every single day if I do from any of the sources, I'm okay with that. But 30 minutes of reading, and from that, whatever new words that you pick up, you can search for meaning of those words. Or if you don't want to do this, just practice RCs. Every day, 3 to 4 RC practice you should do. Grammar practice you should do, and that should be enough. Is 90 to 95 percentile good for CET? So, see, everybody's definition is different. Everybody's target is different. So if you're aiming for, let's say, JBIMS, 1995 is not going to be sufficient. What you need to figure out is, okay, for the colleges that I want to get into, what has been the past cutoff, which is again there on the CET cell website. Right? So typically, if you want to get into top 10 colleges, you need 95 plus percentile. Okay. If you want to get into roughly about top 25 institutes, 90 percentile is what you should be looking at. Is it possible for you to launch a video on Tukka strategy? Okay, so I will not make a video mostly, because see, we don't do things for views, right? I mean, there is no such thing as Tukka strategy. It's like the most nonsense gam that anybody can offer you just for getting some views on YouTube. But you tell me, what's Tukka strategy, right? Let's say I solve 150 questions genuinely. I have last 2-3 minutes remaining. There are 50 questions to go. To mark every question, maybe I'm going to need, let's say, 2 seconds, right? So I will need 100 seconds to mark those 50 questions. I still have more time left, which means there will be some questions that I can solve genuinely. So there is no such thing as marking A will give you more score, or marking B will give you more score, or marking C will give you more score. The point is how many genuine questions you can solve. So when I was a student, I had done 195 questions genuinely in my paper. There were 5 questions that I was not able to do genuinely, correct? So at the end of my attempt, I had 195 genuine attempts. If you have 195 genuine attempts, there's no Tukka strategy. Out of 5, even if you don't get any of them, it's still okay. My point is, these things don't help anybody, right? So Tukka strategy, let's say you are attempting only 80 questions, 120 questions to go. Even if you mark all of them randomly, right? Probability wise, you will still end up hitting something like, let's say, I don't know, maybe a 24, 25, or maybe 30. That is still not taking you to a very, very, very great college, right? You may be thinking of, let's say, JB. Marking 80 genuine attempts is not going to take you. So that is why don't worry about Tukka strategy. It's a pointless exercise to do. I will rather focus on how many genuine attempts I can do. The more the better, obviously. But ensure that you mark all 200 questions before you come out of the test. Okay, I am a repeater. Almost all the concepts are quite clear. Just need to focus more on mocks. That is, I've been applying for jobs, but no luck. What else can I do to improve my profile? Okay, so two separate issues, Gitansh, right? See, one is you're talking about jobs. One is you're talking about mocks. For jobs, next 3 weeks, I don't think you should be worrying too much about it. See, you know, you're a repeater, so you have done most of the concepts. Even when I was a student, I had taken my first attempt CET and then a second attempt. So between the first and the second attempt, the major difference was the number of questions. First attempt, I didn't know what I was doing. Second attempt, I exactly knew what I was supposed to do. So you now know that what works, what doesn't work, what are the ways in which you can save your time and so on. That is the concern for the next 3 weeks. Job is a separate issue that you can always handle after 3 weeks. Is at least that is what I would have done. That focus on the immediate problem, solve that, and then move on and do something else. Is it possible to crack CET starting seriously now, not at zero level syllabus is done 70%? Yeah, why not? I mean, possible. But again, see, I can't make predictions. Right? I don't know how exactly people will perform. But do your best in the next 3 weeks. I'm sure something will work out. If I take admission in JBIMS through donation, will I face any problem in placement interviews? Firstly, in JBIMS, because everything is through the cap rounds, right? All the admissions, there is no scope for you to pay any sort of extra money and get admitted, right? So I'm not sure where that question is coming from, because the entire merit list is there in public domain, right? You'll be able to figure out who are the people who are getting in. So I at least I haven't come across anybody who sort of got in using some sort of unfair means. In IMS mocks, what should be an ideal score to get into a top college? I would put it at like 130 plus, 130, 140. If you're getting in that range, I think that's a good position to be. I'm planning to go with one whole LR, two verbal, three quants. Any tips? Why are you skipping the fourth one, which is abstract reasoning, which is another 25 questions? So see, it's not necessary that you do whole of LR, but skip the abstract reasoning section. Correct. So I will figure out, okay, what is it that will give me better return. In the past, when CET used to be difficult, right, there have been years when I have not done 30, 35 questions on the LR section and still have been able to get a 99.9 plus on the test. And that happens because of good accuracy on the other areas. So if you have very good accuracy in the other areas, you can always do that. Whole LR, I don't know if it will work in some cases. Obviously, if the paper is easy, a lot of people will have that strategy of doing the entire LR. If the paper comes out to be difficult, people will not have that strategy. And you should not have that strategy, because paper is mostly difficult because of LR. I'm not saying it can't be difficult because of quant, because there have been some years when they've arbitrarily asked some quant questions which were difficult. But in LR, they have a lot of scope to do very difficult puzzles. But hopefully they don't do it. I mean, they keep it like a very moderate kind of a paper. 94 in 10th, 84 in 12th, maths honors. What colleges should I target for CAT 25? Okay, so Dhananjay, you have a lot of time for CAT. You should not be worrying about colleges, correct? So firstly, the session is for CET 25, not for CAT. And secondly, you're too early to ask about college questions. You should be asking these questions after CAT, correct? So right now, you don't have to worry about it. If I skip puzzles while doing LR, should I complete it by end of the section or after end of all the sections? After you're exhausted all the easy questions. See, you have to attempt the paper in round. Your round one is all the easy questions, and then whatever is remaining is round two or round three, depending on what is the difficulty of it. Right? So round one should be somewhere around 100 plus questions, because no matter how difficult the paper comes out to be in CET, typically you will find 100 doable questions out of 200, even on a difficult test. So if you're able to get to that score, great, which means that you have exhausted most of the easy questions. I'm struggling with speed, it makes me overthink. See, sometimes when you go fast, you have to pay the price of accuracy. Going fast compromises your accuracy for sure, but it's okay, right? I mean, see, if the choice is between 5 additional questions that I can do, potentially hitting 2 correct, or sitting on this one question for more time and getting 1 correct, I will do the first case, which is go for another 5 questions. The higher you attempt, your potential score is higher. So that is why I will say it's okay if you're compromising on accuracy to some extent. But accuracy cannot be below 80%. Correct. My aim would be to stay as close to 80 or more as possible, considering all sections put together. Okay, how to prepare from scratch? What should my approach be? I have rough knowledge in all topics. Shubham, you'll have to jump onto mocks, right? I mean, and you've written that you're doing job, so um, you cannot have full focus. So, whatever time that you get, right? And sometimes the constraints that are there in the life, they're basically helping you optimize. So, if I'm working, I know that whatever time I get, I have to use it for one specific thing rather than putting it on multiple things. It's still possible for you to take mock every alternate day, still possible for you to analyze. I would say your preparation has to be from mocks. Now that you take a mock, see how much you're able to solve the remaining questions, go back to your book and then do only those topics again. So let's say I'm not able to do questions from geometry, I'll go back, brush up my geometry concepts, come back and take the next mock, right? So that's the approach that I will take, because right now you can't start with let me go topic by topic and solve questions and then I will take mock test. You don't have time for that. My score is between 60 to 75. How to increase score within 15 days? See, when you're at 60 to 75, you have enough scope to improve. When you move to a higher score, you have lesser scope to improve. So right now with 60, 75, there are enough topics that either you're not doing or you don't know or you're making silly mistakes in. So I will categorize the remaining questions in that bracket and then figure out, okay, where should I spend my time? I took my first mock and I've done my first test on IMS. I got just 50. I'm scared of this. There's no reason to be scared. I mean, everybody, when they take their first mock, they may or may not have great score. And that's okay. See, everybody has a starting point. It just tells you that currently where you are, this is where you want to go. So how do you reach there? That's what you need to focus on. Which specialization is best for JBIMS? So see, JBIMS is known for finance and marketing, but you can always do operations, you can do HR, you can do, they also offer systems slash IT. So if anybody is interested, you can do that as well. Amongst LR quants and VRC, which part we should focus more in CET? It depends on what you like, Rohit. See, I would focus on quant and VRC, not LR, because generally I put LR for the end, because that is where a lot of experimentation can be done. But it's also because I am very good at quant and VRC. So if you are good at LR and VRC, spend more time there. If you're, let's say, very, very good at LR and quants, you focus more time there. I'm scoring 130 in IMS mocks. Is that okay, or I'm too much of no, 130 is good. 130 is decent. So keep practicing more questions. How many mocks would be enough to prepare for CET? From now on, if you ask me, I think 10. But you can always do 15. Somebody can even do 20. It depends. So total 20 mocks is what we have given. And I think that's a good number for anybody. Please release percentile for mock. Sure, we'll do that. I think we'll have a look at how many students have taken the test and release the data points as early as possible. I scored 36 percentile in 23, 10 percentile in 2024. So there is a chance of taking reattempt this year. See, I would say that you reevaluate why you're doing it, right, in the first place, because if you're not clear on that, you're not putting in the effort, the scores are going to be on the lower side, right? I cannot really sugarcoat my response. I will say that a low score like this, you have to really think why you're doing it, or is this the right thing for you? So I will put in, there are only two things that you can do from here. One is go all out and put the best that you can, take the attempt again, or you say that, okay, fine, maybe let me do something else, right? See, because um, I cannot say that everybody should just keep on taking attempts, because that's not a good idea. You put in effort, you have to go through that entire exercise of taking the test and all of that. It's a lot of effort, right? So I don't know if everybody should do it. So I generally tell people with Maharashtra CET, there is like a 3 attempt thing that you should plan, that if something does not happen in 3 years, mostly it's not going to happen, right? And it's not worth waiting for another year for it. You might as well do something else and you will still be successful. I have seen people getting into second tier colleges and doing very well with life. So see, the first college that you get, of course, defines a lot for you in the initial years, but after that, not really. Okay, you're asking for CAT, but even with CAT, I would say the same thing, right? 10 percentile in 24. I would really consider whether is this the right kind of test for me, right? So, see, you can go for a reattempt. I'm not saying no, but even there, I'm going to put like a 3-year thing that you already taken 2 attempts. Go for a third attempt alongside a job and see what happens. I'm good in LR and abstract, but facing difficulty in quant. How to deal with it? Um, See, quant again formula based, right? So more formula you're aware of, you'll be able to solve majority of the questions. So focus on that in the remaining period, I would say. How to analyze mocks and working week areas? I think I've covered it enough in the past as well. How do you do it? There are some videos on the channel that you can look at in detail. But just to give a short answer, Kunal, you look at what questions you've not been able to solve them again, see what your potential score is, and then work on the improvement areas. That's the essence of it. But have a look at those videos that I've done. Okay. All right. I think we'll have to stop here. We had initially planned for like a 45-minute thing. We already extended that bit. I know you will still have more questions, etc. You can leave it as a comment. Put it as a comment. I will try and get back as early as possible and answer it. Okay. Should I cover new topics in the remaining days? You still have scope to do that for another 10 days. After that, I will just focus on what I know. I'm NCOBC currently getting 140s. That's a very solid score. You definitely have a chance. Okay, so hope you're able to push your performance up from here. Is it possible for IMS to take lectures for LR? We of course have the self-learning program where sessions are available. We have the online program, but I don't think we'll be able to do any more sessions on YouTube as such. SimCT is same which we got with CAT 24 mocks. CAT 24 students already have access to CET 25 mocks, so that's what it is. Yeah, SimCT is tougher, right? So that's why I said that if you're getting a 140 in SimCT, that's a very good position to be in. That's what I said, right? It's a solid score, Anuj, and I hope we are able to push it up from here as well. Okay. All right, great. So thanks everyone for joining. Hope this roughly an hour of discussion has helped you. If you still have questions, leave it as a comment on this video and I'll try and get back at the earliest. Okay. I'm going to do a CET live solving on Saturday. So I hope to see some of you there as well. That is going to be like a long 2.5-hour session wherein I'll be taking one of the SimCETs and let's see how it goes. Okay. All right. Bye everyone. Take care. Thanks for joining.